The stars looked different from the observation deck of Harmony Station. Jack Miller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the unfamiliar constellations. After 6 months as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, he still hadn't gotten used to the view. 27 alien species had built this massive space station at the junction of their territories. Now humanity was the 28th. Admiring the view again, Ambassador? The voice came from behind him, a soft clicking sound underlying the words. Jack turned to see Zakathar, his assigned council liaison. The tall, thin alien had skin that shimmered between blue and green depending on the light. His 4 eyes blinked in different patterns. "I don't think I'll ever get tired of it," Jack said with a smile. "On Earth we dreamed about the stars for thousands of years. And now here we are." Zakathar made a sound that Jack's translator interpreted as gentle amusement. "Most species are less verbal about their wonder." "Sorry," Jack said. "Humans talk a lot when we're excited." "So I've noticed. Your entire species seems to suffer from what my people would call word sickness." Zakathar's upper eyes crinkled in what Jack had learned was a sign of friendly teasing. Jack laughed. "Fair enough. We've only been part of the council for 6 months. We'll calm down eventually." "I doubt that very much," Zakathar said. "But the council meeting starts in 10 minutes. We should go." The main council chamber was a huge round room with seating areas designed for the comfort of each member species. Jack took his place in the human section, with its Earth standard, gravity, and temperature. Samantha Wells, his military attaché, sat to his right. Dr. Alan Bright, the xenobiologist, and Lisa Wong, their communications specialist, filled out the human delegation. "Ready for another exciting discussion about trade route regulations?" Samantha whispered. Her short blonde hair and crisp uniform made her look every bit the soldier she was. "Hey, those shipping lane debates last week were riveting," Jack whispered back with a grin. Lisa leaned forward. "Ambassador, I've been analyzing the translation patterns and something seems off about..." The council leader, a massive being named Grex from a high-gravity world, called the meeting to order. The chamber fell silent. "We welcome our newest members, the humans, to their first discussion of colonial development," Grex rumbled. His voice was so deep that Jack could feel it in his chest even through the translator. For the next 3 hours, representatives from various species discussed the rules for establishing new colonies on unclaimed worlds. The humans asked questions, constantly, interrupting with requests for clarification. Jack noticed some of the older council members shifting in apparent discomfort at the frequency of human interjections. "If I may," Jack said, rising to address the council yet again. "Earth has experience with different models of colonial development. We'd be happy to share our historical data on successful and failed approaches." A representative from the Vexari, a reptilian species known for their military prowess, hissed softly. "The human speaks again. Perhaps they believe their few hundred years of spaceflight equals our millennia of experience." Jack smiled diplomatically. "Not at all. We simply offer our perspective, as is the right of all council members." "The human is correct," Zakathar said, supporting Jack. "All voices have value in the council." After the meeting, Lisa Wong caught up with Jack in the corridor. Her dark eyes were serious behind her glasses. "Ambassador, I need to talk to you about something," she said quietly. "I've been studying the translation matrices for all council communications, and I've found inconsistencies." Jack slowed his pace. "What kind of inconsistencies?" "Certain topics trigger unique delay patterns in the translation, like the system is checking them against some kind of filter before allowing the translation." "That could just be how their tech works," Jack suggested. Lisa shook her head. "No, it's specific topics. Anything about certain regions of space, something called Solarian technology, and questions about species that are no longer part of the council." Dr. Bright joined them, his lanky frame towering over Lisa. "I found something interesting too. I've been comparing DNA and biological markers across species, and there are some unusual similarities between human genetics and trace biological samples I found in an abandoned section of the station." Jack frowned. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not sure yet," Dr. Bright said. But I think humans might not be as new to the galactic community as everyone believes. Over the next year, humanity expanded its presence in council space. Earth established 3 colony worlds and dozens of trading posts. Human ships became a common sight along major trade routes. Many council species came to appreciate humans for their creativity and problem-solving skills, even if they found human chattiness exhausting. Jack's diplomatic team grew as Earth sent more representatives. He built relationships with most council species, though the Vexari remained coldly distant. His friendship with Zikthar deepened as they worked together on various projects. In his personal quarters, Jack reviewed Lisa's latest report. She had compiled 15 months of data showing systematic information gaps in council records. References to a species called the Solarians appeared in fragments of ancient texts, but were absent from official histories. The Solarians established colonies in this sector approximately 20,000 Earth years ago, Lisa's report said. Then they suddenly disappear from all records. But look at this genetic comparison Dr. Bright put together. The attached file showed striking similarities between human DNA and samples recovered from ruins on distant worlds. A message from Earth Command flashed on Jack's screen, marked urgent. He opened it to find that sensors on the edge of human space had detected council ships observing Earth's newest colony. The ships had been watching for weeks without announcing themselves. Jack was still considering how to address this when Samantha Wells rushed into his quarters without buzzing. "Ambassador, the council just called an emergency session," she said, her face grim. "The Vexari are proposing restrictions on human expansion and technology development. They're calling us a destabilizing influence on galactic order." Jack stood up, straightening his diplomatic uniform. "On what grounds?" "They claim we ask too many questions about things that don't concern us. They've specifically mentioned Lisa's research requests about extinct species." Jack felt a chill. How did they know about Lisa's private research? "Get the team together," he said, "and encrypt all our communications from now on. I think we've stumbled onto something the council doesn't want us to find." As they walked to the emergency session, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's honeymoon period with the Galactic Council was coming to an abrupt end. The emergency council session lasted 6 hours. Jack Miller felt every minute of it like a weight on his shoulders. The Vexari representative, a tall reptilian named Sesk, had spoken at length about the human problem. "They spread too quickly. They ask too many questions. They do not respect the natural order of galactic development," Sesk had said, his forked tongue flicking between sharp teeth. In the end, the council had voted. The decision was not what Jack had hoped for. Humanity would face new restrictions, no new colonies for 5 years, limited access to certain technologies, and most troubling of all, council observers would be placed on all human ships and stations. Jack sat in his office now, staring at the communication screen. The faces of Earth's leadership looked back at him with grim expressions. "They claim these are temporary measures," Jack explained, "for the stability of the council. But you don't believe that," said President Diane Carter from Earth. "No, Madam President. My team has discovered something concerning." Jack nodded to Lisa Wong, who sat beside him. Lisa cleared her throat. "For the past 18 months, I've been tracking information discrepancies in council records. There are systematic gaps where data should be. Most notably, references to a species called the Solarians have been scrubbed from official history." Dr. Bright joined in. "And I found biological evidence suggesting humans may be genetically related to these Solarians. The connection is distant, perhaps 20,000 years, but it's there." The president's eyes narrowed. "And you believe our questions about this matter are what prompted these new restrictions?" "Yes," Jack said simply. "The timing is too convenient." Samantha Wells spoke up. "There's more. We've detected unauthorized access attempts to our secure databases. Someone on the station is trying to spy on us." Silence fell over the meeting. Finally, the president spoke again. "Ambassador Miller, what do you recommend?" Jack had been thinking about this question for days. "Something unprecedented, Madam President. Something they won't expect from the species they consider unable to stop talking." 3 days later, Jack requested a special audience with the full council. Such requests were rarely granted, but his friendship with Zuckthar had helped push it through. The council chamber was packed as Jack took the central speaking position. "Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council," Jack began, his voice calm and measured. "For 18 months, humanity has been proud to join this ancient and respected institution. We have established trade, shared knowledge, and begun to find our place among the stars." He paused, looking around the room. Every alien face was turned toward him. "Recent decisions have made us reconsider our position. Rather than argue or protest, we have chosen a different path." Jack took a deep breath. Effective immediately, humanity respectfully withdraws from all council communications for a period of reflection. Murmurs broke out across the chamber. The council leader, Grex, leaned forward. "Ambassador Miller, please clarify, are you withdrawing from the council?" "No," Jack said. "We remain members. We will honor all existing agreements. Our ships will follow established routes, but we will no longer participate in council discussions, meetings, or social functions. We will not communicate with council representatives. We will maintain absolute silence until our concerns are addressed." Sesk of the Vexari laughed, a harsh sound. "The humans will finally be quiet? This is a blessing, not a threat." Jack smiled thinly. "Perhaps. But consider this. In just 18 months, how many council systems have come to rely on human goods? How many of your ships now use human-designed navigation systems? How many of your stations depend on agricultural techniques developed on Earth?" He let the question hang in the air. "We will continue to provide these goods and services, but there will be no updates, no improvements, no technical support. Just silence." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and questions. Jack stood calmly, in the center, saying nothing more. His piece was said. Cathar approached him as the session broke into chaos. "Jack, what are you doing? This is not how council disagreements are handled." "Perhaps it should be," Jack replied quietly. "When speaking accomplishes nothing, sometimes silence is the only message that will be heard. The council will see this as childish defiance. Let them." Jack extended his hand in the human gesture of farewell. "I've valued your friendship, Zuckthar. I hope we speak again when this is resolved." Zuckthar hesitated, then gripped Jack's hand in his three-fingered grasp. "Be careful, my friend. The council has ways of dealing with problems." Within 24 hours, all human representatives had left Harmony Station. Every human colony, ship, and outpost implemented the silence protocol. Human crews still piloted their vessels. Human colonists still worked their farms and factories, but not a single human spoke to any non-human. When alien ships hailed human vessels, they received automated responses with navigation data, but no personal communication. When council representatives visited human colonies, they were met with silent escorts who guided them through required inspections but offered no conversation. The council initially viewed this as a temporary tantrum. They expected the famously talkative humans to break their silence within days. They were wrong. 1 week passed, then 2, then a month. On the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Liberty, Samantha Wells monitored the council observer assigned to their ship. The Vexari officer had tried everything to get the crew to speak. Provocation, threats, even attempting to sabotage minor systems to force a response. The crew had simply fixed the problems without saying a word. "How long do you think they'll let this continue?" asked Captain Greg Nichols quietly. The human quarters of the ship were the only places they allowed themselves to speak. "Until they realize what's happening," Samantha replied. "They think this is just stubbornness. They don't understand its strategy." Back on Earth, Lisa Wong worked day and night with a special team, piecing together fragments of information about the Solarians. What they discovered was disturbing. The Solarians had been a founding member of the Galactic Council 20 millennia ago. They had been innovative, curious, and expansive, much like humans, and they had been systematically erased, their colonies reallocated, their technology appropriated, their very existence wiped from history. In her secure lab, Lisa stared at the final piece of evidence, a genetic marker found in both human DNA and recovered Solarian samples. "They're afraid of us," she whispered to Dr. Bright, who stood beside her. "We're their descendants, or maybe their lost colony, and they're afraid we'll ask why they destroyed our ancestors." Dr. Bright nodded grimly. "And now we've done something even more frightening." "What's that?" "We've stopped talking and started building." He gestured to the screens showing the massive construction projects now underway in human space, hidden from Council observers. "What do you think Ambassador Miller will do when he learns all this?" Lisa asked. "I think," Dr. Bright said slowly, "the Council is about to discover that humanity's silence speaks volumes." 2 months into the human silence, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The Grand Chamber that had once hosted representatives from 28 species now had an empty section where humans used to sit. The absence was like a wound in the room. Grex, the massive council leader, called the meeting to order. "This human silence has gone on long enough. It disrupts council harmony." Sesk of the Vexari rose to speak. "I warned you all about the humans. Now they show their true nature. They should be expelled from the council." Murmurs filled the room. Some agreed, but others seemed uncertain. Cathar, who had been Jack Miller's liaison, stood next. "The humans haven't broken any council laws. They continue to honor all trade agreements. Their ships follow all regulations. They simply do not speak." "And that is the problem," hissed Sesk. "What are they planning in their silence? Why? Do their ships now travel in new patterns? Why have our observers reported massive construction in human space?" No one had a good answer. The silence of humanity had become something fearful, a void where there should be words. At the same time, on the edge of human space, a small unmarked ship drifted near an asteroid field. Inside, Lisa Wong checked her communication equipment one more time. This mission was dangerous but necessary. She had convinced her superiors that they needed to reach out to at least one council member who might listen. A soft beep told her an approaching ship had accepted her signal. She exhaled in relief. "This is Liaison Zikathar responding to your coded message," came a familiar voice. "You are breaking your own silence, Lisa Wong." "Some rules need to be broken," Lisa replied. "Thank you for coming alone. Your message said, you have discovered something important, something worth risking both our positions." Lisa activated her data screen. "Everything we found about the Solarians, and their connection to humans." For the next hour, she showed Zikathar the evidence they had gathered. Ancient records recovered from forgotten databases, genetic comparisons, star maps showing the overlap between old Solarian territories and where humanity had evolved. 20,000 years ago, the Solarians were exploring Earth, Lisa explained. They may have influenced our development or even interbred with early humans. We are in some small way their descendants. Zikathar's 4 eyes blinked in different patterns, a sign of deep distress in his species. "This matches some restricted council records I accessed after you left. The Solarians were removed because they developed technologies that threatened the council's control." "What technologies?" "Communication systems that couldn't be monitored, energy sources that couldn't be regulated. They wanted to share these with all species. The founding council members saw this as chaos." Lisa leaned forward. "And now humans ask too many questions, just like our ancestors did." Back on Earth, Jack Miller stood in the Global Defense Command Center. Huge screens showed the positions of human ships throughout council space. In the 3 months since the silence began, they had quietly repositioned their fleet. "All ships report ready, Ambassador," said Admiral Kelly Porter. The stern older woman had been skeptical of Jack's plan at first, but now she was its strongest supporter. "And the new defense systems?" Jack asked. "Installed on all colonies and major ships. If the Council decides to move against us, they'll get a surprise." Jack nodded, studying the tactical display. Human ships now formed a protective network around their territory. Not offensive, but clearly defensive. "And Project Lighthouse?" Dr. Alan Bright stepped forward. "The communication network is active but dormant. We can activate it with one command. Once we do, no power in the galaxy can shut it down or monitor it. Jack allowed himself a small smile. The same technology the Solarians were developing when the Council destroyed them, except we finished it. In silence, added Samantha Wells, who stood nearby. The Council observers have no idea what the construction project's really built. They think we're just strengthening our defenses. On Harmony Station, the Council meeting had devolved into factions. Some species wanted to take military action against the humans. Others argued for patience. A few even suggested meeting the human demands, though no one was quite sure what those demands were anymore. Scythar had returned from his secret meeting with a new perspective. He watched the arguments with growing unease. The council he had served loyally for decades was showing its true nature under pressure. The Vexari and their allies were pushing for war, using fear to sway others. The human silence is an act of aggression, Sesk was saying. They build weapons while refusing to explain themselves. Finally, Zikthar could stay silent no longer. He activated the central speaking platform, a move so unexpected that the chamber fell quiet. Honored representatives, he began. I have served the council for 40 years. In that time, I have never questioned our decisions. Today, I must. He touched his console and the chamber's main display activated. On it appeared images and data about the Solarians, information that had been hidden for millennia. 20,000 years ago, this council ordered the destruction of an entire species. Their crime was developing technologies that would have freed all people from central control. Gasps and shouts filled the room. Grex rose from his seat, his massive form looming. This information is forbidden. Where did you get it? From our own sealed archives, Zikthar replied calmly, and from the humans who pieced it together despite our efforts to hide it. The room erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded Sarthar's arrest. Others stared at the evidence with shock and dismay. The humans are not building weapons, Zikthar continued when he could be heard again. They are building what the Solarians began. A truly free network of communication and energy that cannot be controlled or monitored by any central authority. Sesk pushed his way to the front. Then they must be stopped, just as the Solarians were stopped. They threaten everything we have built. Perhaps, said Zikthar, what we have built deserves to be threatened. On the fringe of human space, the Liberty received an encrypted message. Captain Greg Nichols brought it immediately to Samantha Wells. It's from Zikathar, he said. He's exposed everything to the Council. About the Solarians, about our connection to them. Samantha read the message quickly. The Council is fracturing. The Vexari faction is pushing for military action against us. The rest are in disarray. She reached for the secure communication link to Earth. We need to tell Ambassador Miller. It's time for Phase 2. In his office on Earth, Jack Miller received the news with a calm nod. For 3 months, humanity had maintained its silence. They had built their defenses and completed Project Lighthouse. Now the moment had come. Send the signal, he told his staff. All human ships and colonies. Operation Voice begins now. Throughout Council space, on every human ship and colony, the same message was broadcast simultaneously on all frequencies, in all languages. To all species of the galaxy, we invite you to join us in a conversation about freedom. And with that single sentence, humanity broke its silence. The human message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. To all species of the galaxy, we invite you to join us in a conversation about freedom. Simple words, but their impact was enormous. On Harmony Station, the council meeting had turned into complete chaos. Half the representatives demanded immediate action against the humans. The other half wanted to know more about what Zikthar had revealed about the Solarians. Grex pounded his massive fist on the table. Order! We must have order! But order was not coming back to the Galactic Council anytime soon. Too many secrets had been exposed. Too many questions were being asked. Cathar stood calmly in the center of the storm he had created. Guards flanked him, but they seemed unsure whether to arrest him or protect him. Several council species had already declared their support for his revelations. The humans are not our enemy. Zekthar said when he could be heard again. They have simply held up a mirror to our own history, and we do not like what we see. Sesk of the Vexari pushed forward, his scales flushed with anger. Enough of this nonsense. I speak now for the Security Coalition. We have already dispatched ships to contain the human threat. You've what? Gasped a representative from the peaceful Lauren species. You have no authority to take military action. Without a full council vote. We have the authority of necessity, Sesk hissed. The humans have built a network that could destabilize the entire council system. Would you have us wait while our power crumbles? On the Liberty, Samantha Wells received the urgent alert. Multiple council ships breaking formation. They're heading toward our colonies at attack speed. Captain Nichols straightened his uniform. Battle stations. Activate defense protocols. The crew moved with quiet efficiency. After 3 months of silence, they had developed an almost supernatural ability to work together with minimal communication. Send word to Earth, Samantha ordered. The Vexari have made their move. On Earth, Jack Miller stood in the Global Defense Command Center. The massive screens showed red dots representing Vexari ships approaching human outposts, but he did not look worried. They're testing us, he told President Carter, who had joined him for this crucial moment. They want to see if our silence was just a cover for weakness. And if they attack our people? The president asked. Then they'll discover what we've really been building these past 3 months. Jack nodded to Admiral Porter. Activate the shields on all threatened colonies. Non-lethal defense protocols only. Throughout human space, a remarkable transformation took place. Around each human colony and ship, invisible energy fields shimmered into existence. These weren't the standard shields used by Council ships. These were something new, something that should have been impossible according to Council science. The Vexari fleet approached Horizon Colony, humanity's largest outpost. Their weapons powered up. Their commander sent a final warning. Surrender your illegal communication network or face destruction. No response came. The Vexari ships fired. The energy weapons struck the shields around Horizon Colony and simply vanished. No explosion, no impact. The energy was absorbed completely, leaving the colony untouched. The Vexari commander ordered another volley. Same result. Then something unexpected happened. All Vexari ship engines suddenly shut down. Their weapons went offline. Life support remained functional, but nothing else worked. A single text message appeared on their screens. We don't want to fight. We want to talk. When you're ready, we'll restore your systems. Similar scenes played out wherever Council ships had moved against human outposts. Not a single shot reached a human target. Not a single human weapon was fired in return. The attacking ships simply found themselves disabled but safe. On Harmony Station, the news arrived in the middle of the chaotic council meeting. The Vexari attacks had failed completely. Their ships were now drifting, powerless but unharmed. What kind of weapon can do this? Demanded one representative. Not a weapon, Zakthar said quietly. This is what the Solarians were developing before. They were destroyed. Technology that makes weapons obsolete. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. A chime sounded, indicating an incoming transmission. On the main screen appeared Jack Miller's face. After 3 months of silence, the human ambassador was speaking to the council again. Honorable representatives, Jack began. I apologize for our extended silence. It seemed the only way to make you listen. Your ships have attacked council vessels, Sesk shouted. We have not attacked anyone, Jack replied calmly. We have temporarily disabled ships that were firing weapons at our civilian colonies. All crew are safe. All ships are intact. When this meeting concludes, full control will be restored. He paused, looking at each council member on his screen. 3 months ago, we discovered that the council had erased an entire species from history, the Solarians, who appear to be distant ancestors of humanity. Their crime was developing technology that would have made central control impossible. Murmurs filled the chamber, but no one interrupted. During our silence, we completed what the Solarians began. Project Lighthouse is not a weapon. It's a network that allows instant, secure communication across any distance. without the possibility of centralized monitoring or control. It provides abundant energy that cannot be regulated or restricted. Jack's expression became solemn. We also built defenses, as you've seen, not to conquer but to ensure that what happened to the Solarians cannot happen to us. Grex finally spoke, his deep voice subdued. What do you want, Ambassador Miller? We are establishing an open coalition, Jack answered. A new association of species based on free exchange of information and technology. No secrets, no hierarchies. We invite any species to join us. You're fracturing the council, Sesk accused. No, we're offering an alternative. Jack looked directly at the Vexari representative. The old council can continue for those who prefer its structure. We will not interfere. We ask only that you extend us the same courtesy. Before anyone could respond, messages began appearing on dozens of consoles around the chamber. Council representatives stared at their screens in shock. What's happening? Demanded Grex. Many of your people are contacting us directly, Jack explained. Through Project Lighthouse, any being can communicate with any other, regardless of distance or barriers. Your citizens are choosing to speak freely for the first time. Zuckathar stepped forward. I move that we vote on whether to open formal relations with the Human Open Coalition. Sesk hissed in fury. This is treason. This is democracy, Zuckathar replied, something the council has forgotten. As the vote began, it quickly became clear that the council was splitting down the middle. Half the species sided with the Vexari, clinging to the old order. The other half voted to open relations with humanity's coalition. Jack Miller watched the proceedings from Earth, a small smile on his face. Their months of silence had spoken more eloquently than words ever could. The galaxy would never be the same again. 1 month after the council split, Jack Miller walked through the new human embassy on Harmony Station. The space had been redesigned. Gone were the formal meeting rooms and isolated offices. In their place stood open gathering areas where representatives from different species could talk freely. Today was important. For the first time since humanity's silence had ended, all species would gather, both those who remained with the old council and those who had joined the open coalition. Nervous? Asked Samantha Wells, walking beside him. A little, Jack admitted. Peace is harder than conflict sometimes. Harder, but worth it, she replied. 14 species had joined humanity's open coalition. 14 had stayed with the traditional council structure. The meeting today would establish how these two systems would coexist. In the main chamber, the seating had been rearranged. Instead of the hierarchical rows that had once separated senior and junior council members, chairs formed a perfect circle. No position was higher than another. Jack took his seat. Across from him sat Sesk of the Vexari, his reptilian face unreadable. The Vexari ships had been returned as promised, with all systems restored. But relations remained tense. Zuckathar entered last. His position was unique. Though he still represented his people in the traditional council, he had been named special, a liaison to the open coalition. He now moved between both groups, building bridges. I call this historic gathering to order, Zuckathar announced. Today we established the framework for a new galactic community. For hours they discussed practical matters, trade routes, shared resources, communication protocols. Throughout it all, Jack noticed how the conversation flowed more naturally in this circle arrangement. Even Sesk spoke more openly without the formal structures of the old council. During a break, Lisa Wong approached Jack with Dr. Alan Bright at her side. They had just returned from a special mission. We found them, Lisa said quietly, her eyes bright with excitement. Jack didn't need to ask who she meant. The Solarians? Alan nodded. A small colony, hidden deep in the uncharted regions. They've been there for 20,000 years, watching from the shadows. How many? Jack asked. A few thousand, Lisa answered. They survived the Council's attempt to wipe them out. They've been hiding ever since, developing their technology in secret. They know about us, Alan added. They've been monitoring Earth for millennia. They saw our evolution, They view humans as their successors in a way. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Do they want contact? Yes, Lisa said, but only through Project Lighthouse. They don't trust direct meetings yet. I don't blame them, Jack murmured. When the session resumed, a new topic arose, the future of technology sharing. The old council had strictly controlled which species could access which technologies. The Open Coalition proposed a different approach. Information wants to be free, Jack said, using an old Earth saying. Project Lighthouse will be available to any species that wishes to use it, regardless of which structure they belong to. Sesk leaned forward. And what of defensive technologies? Will you share those as well? A hush fell over the room. Everyone remembered how effortlessly human defenses had neutralized the Vexari attack. Yes, Jack said simply. All technologies. No restrictions. Why? Sesk demanded. With such power you could dominate the galaxy. Why give it away? Jack smiled. Because domination was never our goal. Conversation was. For the first time, something like respect showed in Sesk's eyes. That evening, after the formal meetings had ended, Jack stood alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. So much had changed in just 4 months. A civilization that had remained stable for millennia had transformed. He heard soft footsteps and turned to see Zekthar approaching. Your people have accomplished something remarkable, Zekthar said. In silence, you built a technology that makes war obsolete. With one message, you changed the course of galactic history. We had good motivation, Jack replied. When we learned what happened to the Solarians, we knew we needed to find a different path. And you have. Zekthar moved to stand beside him at the viewport. 6 more council species have applied to join your coalition since this morning. Jack raised an eyebrow. That will shift the balance of power. There is no more power to balance, Zekthar said. That's what makes your approach so revolutionary. By giving away your advantages freely, you've made them worthless as tools of control. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching distant stars. The Solarians have contacted us, Jack said finally. A small colony survived. They've been hiding all this time. Zekathar's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. That is unexpected news. They want to emerge from hiding, to join the Open Coalition. Jack turned to face his friend. Will your people be ready for that, to face those you tried to destroy? It will not be easy, Zekthar admitted, but perhaps it is necessary. Some wounds can only heal when exposed to light. The next day, Jack Miller stood before the assembled representatives of all 28 species. Behind him on the main screen was a live connection to the hidden Solarian colony. Their leader, a tall, elegant being named Alara, waited to address the gathering. 20,000 years ago, Jack began, a great injustice was committed. A founding member of your council was nearly erased from history. Today, we begin to correct that injustice. He stepped aside, and Alara spoke for the first time to the galactic community that had tried to destroy her people. We come not seeking vengeance, her musical voice filled the chamber, but reconciliation. The humans have built what we only dreamed of, a network that makes secrets impossible and centralized control obsolete. In doing so, they have created the conditions for true peace. Sesk rose from his seat, and everyone tensed. The Vexari had been the most vocal opponents of human policies. Now he addressed the ancient enemy of the council directly. My ancestors participated in the campaign against your people, he said, his voice lacking its usual aggressive edge. Our histories call it a war of necessity. I now see it was a war of fear. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. The humans have shown us a different path, Sesk continued. When they stopped speaking, we felt fear. When they spoke, again they offered not threats but invitation. Perhaps it is time we all learn to listen before we act. As the meeting continued, Jack stepped back, watching the representatives of 29 species now, including the Solarians, begin the difficult work of building a truly united galaxy. Samantha Wells appeared at his side. Mission accomplished. Ambassador? Jack shook his head with a small smile. No, mission just beginning.